This is a Meldon Law Monday. Glad to be with you tonight. We got some special guests to talk about the events of the week. This is always about University of Florida and SEC sports. I'm Buddy Martin. The program is heard for those who are listening on YouTube for the first time Monday through Thursday nights at 9 o'clock and occasionally on weekends. We feature special guests. We talk about all things in the news in terms of college sports, occasionally of pro sports, like tonight we'll talk NFL. So come aboard and join us on our new adventure we've got going on here right now. This is the new adventure because hey, it's always new software and it brings new adventures. Stand by. Buddy Martin Show's on the air.
It's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Shane and Buddy. Ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
All right, stand by. Evening, welcome to the program. Tidying up a few little details here while we get Shane Matthews on the phone. It's Monday night. It's Meldon Law Monday. We'll talk a little bit about the news in football. The SEC, the Orange and Blue game day is set. Florida's still looking for a quarterback. And, of course, we had the NFL playoffs, AFC, NFC championship games, which we'll talk about with Shane, former NFL player. In fact, we're going to go to him right now before we go to a commercial because he's in Texas and he's working. He's going to meetings. So let's welcome him back to the show for whatever we can get him. Coach Matthews, welcome back to the program.
How you doing, buddy?
All right for a guy struggling with new software, but we're doing it. And, a whole range of emotions on this NFL games, and it seemed like it was a combination of injuries and mistakes, although some good football was certainly played, and whoever was left standing at quarterback got the chance to win it. What did you think of the games yesterday?
Well, I actually did get to see him. We had the day off. It's unfortunate what happened to the 49ers and Brock Purdy. Josh Johnson could get it done. He gets knocked out, and they just couldn't throw a football. So they give Eagles the credit. Eagles have the best D-line and O-line in probably all of football. And then, of course, the Chiefs and the Bengals was just a classic as usual. Two phenomenal quarterbacks going at it. And, the Bengals had their opportunity there with about a minute and a half and ended up having to punt. And the punt return gave the Chiefs good field position around midfield. And Mahomes makes that scramble. And I felt terrible for the Osai kid who was he played so well and was giving such great effort. And it's just like, I think he tore his ACL on that play too, is what I heard.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate situation because the kid played so well during the game.
Yeah.
And he couldn't pull up. And I think I was talking to Coach Spurrier today. As bad as that looked, if you go back and look at that tape, he also clipped the heels of Mahomes, and he fell forward, and it made him look like he was pushing him harder than he was, although it was definitely a penalty. He shouldn't have had his hands on him at all. Unfortunately for a guy who plays, he's only 22 years old, and to get that close. So he played a wonderful game, and it came down to San Francisco. They lost their third-string quarterback, Brock Purdy. They tried it with their fourth-string guy. I really felt for Kyle Shanahan. Man, talk about having an empty, no bullets in your gun. And then, of all things, to lose the game, Mahomes on a scramble, and he did make a big effort there in that play and got the extra 10 yards for the penalty, and, of course, they made the field goal. So, Joseph Osai, he's just 22 years old. He put everything in his game and his biggest moment of his life, and he said, He said he just couldn't pull up. He tried. So unfortunate. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, you can't fault the kid. It's he played with great effort, and that's what you ask as a coach, is to have him play with great effort. But I mean, those two quarterbacks are just unbelievable. I mean, think about it, buddy. I think Mahomes has been a starter for the Chiefs 6 years now.
6 years. Made the AFC Championship game 5, I think, of those, right?
5 of them, and now he's going to his 3rd Super Bowl. I said a couple of years ago, and people thought I'm crazy, and they probably still think I'm crazy. He's going to go, in my opinion, he may go to more Super Bowls than Tom Brady. I don't know if he'll win as many, but I mean, think about it. He's going to his 3rd, and he's only been in the league 6 years. So, and then Joe Burrow has been to the AFC Championship game in 2 of his 3 years. So the league is in good hands with some really good young quarterbacks.
No doubt about that for sure. Well, Super Bowl in 2 weeks. Who do you like? Philly's playing really good right now.
They are, but boy, it's hard to go against Pat Mahomes. He's just they're so creative on offense, but again, as I said at the beginning of the show, the Eagles probably have the best interior, both lines of the scrimmage of anybody in the league. So should be a good one. A lot of storylines with the Kelsey brothers on opposite sides. You know, Andy Reid ties in with Philadelphia. So. Today, I think the Chiefs win. I may change my mind tomorrow, but I think the Chiefs win.
Well, if that ankle doesn't get worse. But you're right. Mahomes is amazing. Even one-on-one. I mean, a guy that skill, and as you know, everything he does is timing to the nth degree. One little thing, a butterfly's wings could throw off something he does. And he's playing on that bad leg. What a heroic effort by him to do that. So it's going to be the Chiefs and the Eagles. And I don't even know the spread yet, so we got plenty of time to talk about it. 2 weeks. And I talked to your old coach today, and he spoke about something regarding the quarterbacks getting hurt as they're throwing the ball. As we saw Brock Purdy. Unfortunately, he ended up getting a pretty serious injury there in his arm. And he said if those quarterbacks wouldn't wind up and throw like that, as you know, he believes in not getting that broad sweeping winding throw. He believes that's what causes him to get hurt. Your thoughts about that?
I mean, I understand his point. I just don't think there's anything you could do with how it happened. It was just a freak injury. I haven't heard the extent of the injury. I mean, obviously he couldn't grip or throw the football. I don't know if he's going to have surgery or what. I've not heard.
Yeah, I think he is going to have surgery. We read that today.
Yeah.
Well, they're trying to decide. They're trying to decide. He's thinking about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, personally, I don't know if there's anything you could have done differently. I mean, it's just one of those freak accidents, and as you said, it hurt the football team, and I believe you will see the NFL go back to their old rule where you can dress 3 quarterbacks, where the 3rd guy does not count against your.
Yeah, that was a good rule. Yeah, I like that rule. Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to go back to that's how it was when I played.
Yeah.
And, once the 3rd quarterback, if the 3rd quarterback entered. I can't remember the dang rule, but it's something like if he entered in the first 3 quarters, he was in for the rest of the game. But if he came in the 4th quarter and something happened, you could bring back another one of your other quarterbacks. So, but anyway, I just don't see the NFL allowing what happened yesterday to happen again.
It hurts the game for sure. Yeah. All right. So before we switch over and talk about a little basketball and maybe golf, because after all, we got some good golf going on too. You like to talk about golf sometimes. Let's talk about. I was again talking to Coach Spurrier today, and we were talking about the quarterback situation. It's like 3 teams in the SEC got like Alabama and somebody else, Ole Miss and Florida, got to find quarterbacks. And here we are. They announced today the spring game. It's April 13th. They've got to figure out who their quarterback's going to be, and I asked Coach Spurrier. He says, "I don't know. I think the guy from Wisconsin. You can't even come up with his name. No, not that he's the only one. By the way, a lot of people couldn't remember Graham Hurts. He's not a household name around here. But we got to find out who he is. It feels like and looks like, and I don't know this because I'm not an expert. Florida got a little more juice last couple of weeks. Some players they got for 2024 especially. They got a couple of good-looking prospects committed, some 4-stars. They're in the hunt on the 5-star, etc. It feels like Billy is moving up, and in the portal game, he picked up some players recently. I know you've been busy, you haven't had a chance to follow it, but what are your thoughts about some of that activity?
Well, I think we're doing pretty well in recruiting, as far as I know. I'm sure there'll be a lot of activity once spring ball is over. I think the portal opens back up, I think, after that.
It does.
I mean, people need to get ready. Graham Mertz is probably going to be your quarterback, and I have no problem with it. He was highly regarded. I think he's very talented. The more people that I talk with in the coaching world, they really liked him. This was in a bad situation, and, who knows how he'll pan out. Let's hope he pans out, but let's give him the benefit of the doubt. As I like to say, trust your coaches. And we got to remember, the best players on our football team last year were responsible because of Billy Napier and this staff. So
no doubt.
We'll figure it out. They'll figure it out in the spring. I guess it'd be him, Jack Miller, and Max Brown, who I think is actually playing baseball right now. So I don't know how much he'll participate in spring ball, or if he's not playing a whole lot of – I don't know where he stands with baseball. Yeah. But, I think too many people get caught up in these so-called big-name 5-star quarterbacks, buddy. You got to remember, only one dude can play that position. Again, Jaden Rashada, I don't know if he's gone, committed anywhere. He may end up being a great player, but he may end up being a bust. We don't know. So, the biggest thing is just trust your coaches and let's see what happens.
Yeah. Okay, this is something that I heard, I swear, Don Shula say this 25 years ago. And I asked him 20 years later about it, and he didn't remember saying it. And I heard him with my own ears. I wrote it down. I remembered it. I think it's one of the things he grabbed off the wall as a quote. And it certainly applies in this case. The picture I'm going to put up on the screen you can't see. It's a fake Sports Illustrated with a Georgia Bulldog, number 13, with a great big Natty Daddy beer in his hand. Huge picture. And, of course, we all know it happened to Stetson Bennett. Not too funny to Bulldog fans, I understand that. I don't think it's a huge deal, but it's not good to get mixed up with the cops these days on the streets, as we've seen. And it certainly didn't help his image any. Although in some circles it probably did, But so we know that Stetson Bennett is a feisty kid. He had a great year. But what Don Shula said then was one of the most dangerous times in your life is after you've had a great success. Well, certainly he had one of those back-to-back national championships and whatever. And here he was. For those who haven't heard by now, he was arrested. He was knocking on doors down in Dallas where he's training. And the cops came in. I think I saw a video, but you can't be sure if it's phony or real, of them running him down. I don't know. But the report was the 25-year-old was taken into custody around 6 a.m. to reports of a man banging on doors of Tribeca Way in Old East Dallas. According to a police news release, Bennett was, quote, unquote, determined to be intoxicated, quote, unquote. Whatever that means. When the authorities arrived on the scene, additionally, the writer said the Georgia Star was taken to a detention center where he was booked. The information regarding his bond was not immediately known, but he did get out eventually. So that's the story. It's not the kind of thing you want to read about your football team. Florida had a bunch of that back in the day, and boy, the Bulldog fans jumped all over them. I'd say the Bulldog fans ought to clean their own house up. They've had a bad off season.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. I mean, Stetson's he's 25. I didn't realize he was in Texas. I knew it happened in Texas. I didn't know he was training there.
Yeah.
It's something he'll learn from. I mean, look, people can take shots at him, what have you. It's he's now going to be a professional athlete, I think, at some point. I think he'll get an opportunity. Like I said, it's not a good situation. I saw the video. Somebody showed it to me. That wasn't him. That was
I didn't think so. That's why I didn't.
That was some other athlete. Yeah. So it's, I don't know what else to say about it. I mean, don't call an Uber or, do your drinking at home or what have you. But he'll learn from it.
Yeah. I got some guy coming in to listen to the show first of all and telling me I not to talk about. This isn't important. Move on. You know what? I don't think we need any more program directors, pal. We got enough, okay? So, anyway, we'll mention it. Let's see. I want to talk a little basketball with you. I know you're big college basketball fans. What an unfortunate round of basketball for the SEC against the Big 12. Some really good basketball played and some really bad basketball played. Don't know if you saw Florida K-State, but they owned the Gators. Franz had a good line there about the fact that, it's a different situation when you're in your home gym and you're dominating people and you're dunking on them, whatever, and you go out and you're a big guy. K-State had an answer for Florida, and it didn't work out well.
Yeah, I didn't get to see any. I didn't see one SEC Big 12 game.
Really?
Unfortunately. I had a bad feeling. I didn't think we could beat K-State in Manhattan. This stretch that Florida has, starting with K-State, coming in the next 3 or 4 games, is tougher than any team I've ever seen. Hoping they can just win a couple of them somehow or just win one. But, what Tennessee is, I guess, Wednesday night, that's not going to be easy at all. What are they, number 2 in America now?
I believe so. They looked awfully good. And Florida, by the way, the SEC went 3-7 against the Big 12. 3-7. So, I mean, my goodness, I don't have to go through all the scores, but, Auburn got beat by West Virginia. Oklahoma routed Alabama, a number 2 ranked Alabama team, 93-69. Missouri pulled out a win. Mississippi State pulled out a win, and on and on. Arkansas lost a tough one to Baylor. Tennessee crushed Texas 82-71, and K-State just hammered Florida 64-50, and then Kentucky got beat by Kansas 77-68, and finally Ole Miss lost to Oklahoma State. So, yeah, I know it's tough. I don't put too much stock in this, but you'd like to be better than 3-7, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean the Big 12 is a good conference. I still think the SEC is an outstanding conference as well, and I still think you'll get 6 or 7 teams in possibly in tournament time. But I think a lot of people. I mean, it's hard to win those games on the road. College basketball is so strange. I don't know how many of the. I know Kentucky lost at home to Kansas. I'm not sure who else played at home, but I think Mississippi State won at home. So anyway, got to win your home games, and hopefully Florida can find a way to beat Tennessee on Wednesday night.
They need it. All right, so here's the thing. The Orange and Blue game is on a Thursday night, okay? 6:30 night. Now, I'm not happy with that. I just think it's something about that game being played on a Saturday afternoon that feels right to me. On a beautiful spring day, but they've done it for some reason. Who knows why? And a lot of people are ticked off. Not the least of, as Michael Burton says, April the 13th is an awful day for the fans to be able to attend the game from out of town. Hey, UF, remember the fans who worked their tails off to pay for tickets. Give them a chance to get to the game. How about Saturday? Well, there you go. You're going to hear a lot of that, Shane.
Well, they did. Last year we played it on a different night as well. It wasn't on Saturday, but I think it was a Friday night. Yeah. I mean, maybe they just feel like that's a good weekend. I guess. I don't know. They have a reason. They just don't decide just to tick fans off. There's a reason why they're doing it. Yeah,
but I think you want people to buy tickets. You got to do things they like.
No, it's free. It's free.
No, I mean like he says during the year, they want to buy tickets. These are working people need to work anyway. Out of town people, sometimes they don't think about the fact not everybody lives in Gainesville. There are other people, other places. All right, so let's talk about this. Coach Spurrier and I were talking about it. Here we are, spring. Don't have a quarterback yet, like others. I'm assuming, and he said he doesn't know, but he thinks right now it's going to be the guy from Wisconsin, as he calls him, Graham Mertz, without knowing much about him. It's just all gut instinct right now. I think, I don't want to speak for you, but I think you said you think it's going to be Mertz right now, and I feel the same way.
Yeah, I mean, all signs point to him, but they could still sign someone after spring ball. I mean, sure, there'll be plenty of quarterbacks enter the portal after they don't win the job at whatever school they're at. But I would bet to say that it's going to be Graham Mertz for sure.
Mm-hmm. And, of course, got a third running back now. and a walk-on, Rubio, Marco Rubio's son, apparently. Uh, and they picked up some decent ball players, looks like. And he's not done, like I say. Still got another signing class or part of the national signing class to go with a few more scholarships and, of course, the portal, as we know. So he's still got to put that squad together, and we'll see. But it just seems funny, a school like Florida, who's got a long history of having terrific quarterbacks, of which you were one. At that point, they didn't know either who was going to be the quarterback, and it worked out pretty well for Florida and for you. But you have any trepidation about the uncertainty of that right now?
No, I mean, but if you think about the last 20 or 30 years, we really haven't had a solid quarterback since Tebow left. I mean, we had Trask, but other than that, there's been so much up and down and no consistency at that position. So it's been a very, very long time, and I just think the way of the world now, it's hard to find those special players. And I don't know if Graham Mertz is that guy. I guess I don't even know how many years he has left to play.
Sure,
I don't know.
He's got 2, I believe.
2 years? Okay.
I'm not 100% on that. But I know this, he was highly regarded as a recruit, as you know.
Extremely.
And Alabama wanted him. He was spent some time down in Alabama. And there are people, there's evidence that he was highly recruited by people. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, we got to, regardless of who the quarterback is, I feel like our roster will be better, and we have got to win 8 games minimum next year.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I'll let you go after this. I know you got to get back to your whatever it is you're doing at nighttime there in Texas, eating barbecue, whatever else you're doing. Update us on the situation here, Coach. What's going on with the team and the games and the Guardians, and when do you play your first game?
The first game is the weekend after the Super Bowl. We open up in Houston. Our first home game in Orlando is the following weekend. I don't know the exact date in front of me, but everybody's still practicing. We've had some joint practices against one another, and it's a work in progress. It's like coaching high school ball. Quite honestly, you get an assortment of all different kinds of players and have to adjust to what they can and cannot do, and got to cut guys. We got to cut in the next week or so, next 9 days. You got to cut like 26 players to get down to 50. So it's an interesting process, and a lot of long hours, watching tape, beatings, and bus rides to practice and things of that nature. But it's been fun so far.
Can't wait to sit down with you and get back and see how you like those kind of hours and that job, considering that you have a different kind of job as a star in radio and media up here. So we'll see.
Well, I'll tell you, the radio and the radio job is very simple compared to coaching.
No, I'm saying, I'm sure it is.
Hours. It's I don't think people, that's why I've always said from day one, buddy, people always get on me about taking up for coaches. Mm-hmm. It's not true. It's just, I know how hard it is to coach. I lived with a guy. I was raised with a coach. I know how hard and how many hours coaches put into it. And, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But, it's a tough business. And if you don't have, you got to have some good players. You got to coach them up. But if you don't have good players, sometimes it doesn't matter how many meetings you have and what you do. You can't win without Jimmys and Joes.
All right, great stuff, Shane. You have a show tomorrow morning or not?
It looks like I am. There's severe cold weather, sleet, snow, ice storms coming through Dallas tonight. So it looks like we're going to have tomorrow off. So I am going to do a show in the morning. So we will have the great and wonderful Buddy Martin on the program.
Well, I'll check in with you in the morning if you got one. Just say I'd be glad to do it. I always enjoy it very much. And thank you. Take care, and good luck out there, Shane.
All right, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Great Shane Matthews. We'll take this break and come back, and Graham Hall should be waiting around the corner in the orange and blue room. This is the Buddy Martin Show, brought to you by Meldon Law. Time to catch up with our friend Jeffrey Meldon, who's always got his shirt tail in the wind doing stuff, and meanwhile, celebrating milestones. Jeffrey, first of all, hello and welcome back, and congratulations. You got a big milestone coming up for your Scholar Athlete program, 25 years.
Yes, buddy, we're really excited. We started it in 1997 with Larry Vittel, who had the Sports Scene show. And after a couple of years, TV20 called us, and we joined up with them and got even greater exposure. And we've now given away over 650 scholarships to local scholar athletes in Marion County, Alachua County, and all the adjoining counties.
I know you're proud of that. And by the way, I remember Larry Vitale. We worked together for a number of years. I guess he's up in New York now. Let's talk about what you're doing with Meldon Law. I want to remind people that they do practice law at Meldon Law because sometimes you have so many things going on, whether you're trying out for the band or you're doing the dancing with the stars or whatever. We forget to tell them you are in business and you do practice law. Let's get that straight. And I got a number here, which I know is good from Ocala, and presumably Ocala, Gainesville, 352-629-5700. Let's talk about the fact that you are litigators as well.
Yes, I show up every morning at the office, by the way, and I have my desk, full of stuff, and I walk around the office and collaborate with all the attorneys and folks here. So we've really grown, buddy. It's a great story because we've grown from 12 people on our team to 32 people in a period of 6 years. So we're very proud of that. And we're most proud of the team members that we have, just like any sports team. And, your listeners are to a great extent working in businesses, and they know what it's like building a team in the office.
They do. We're going to start calling you Coach Meldon. That would fit it really good. And your assistant head coach, Kerry. All right, thanks. Meldon Law, they won't back down. Check them out. Let's go to the Orange and Blue room now and check out. I believe my man Graham Hall is in for just a cameo. We had to book him way ahead with his agent and not keep him overtime, or we're going to pay him double. So let's get to it right away. I'll say good evening to you, Graham. How you doing?
No worries, buddy. Sorry, I just got another call later tonight. So my pleasure. Always to talk all things Gators with you. Thanks for having me, man.
Thanks for being on. Orange and Blue game is on Thursday night. Some people don't like it, especially people driving from out of town. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think there's some precedent there for that decision. I'm glad that they made the decision now in the end of January rather than mid-March to give people a chance to make their travel arrangements, figure out if they're going to be able to make it to the game. If anything, they'll be able to watch it at night on Thursday when they get home. But I'm with you. I miss the Saturday atmosphere of being able to tailgate for the games. It really kind of gets you excited for college football season. Thursday is not, in my opinion, just a game atmosphere. I understand the benefits to it. You get to be the prime time game on Thursday. Nothing else is going on. And that really makes it so that Florida doesn't have to, compete too much for these top prospects who are going to be looking to go to Miami, Alabama, Georgia, Florida State, competing for that date. So this gives Florida a chance to really maximize their recruiting list, take that primetime slot at 7:30 or whatever the game is, 7 o'clock on that Thursday. But I definitely understand people aren't super happy about it. I would be curious to know what the viewership numbers were last year for the game at home being on a 7:30 kickoff on Thursday. I know that attendance was pretty good, but that's to be expected with a first-year head coach and the first public spring scrimmage in 3 years. That's my final point on this, buddy. I'm just glad that the game is happening at all, whether it's on a Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday. It was 3 straight years there where Florida didn't have the game. It's happened, as well due to not having enough offensive linemen in the past. You throw in a pandemic, you throw in all the things that can go wrong. I'm just glad that the game is going to happen at all. I'll say that.
Good point. And by the way, they're calling it the Orange and Blue game again, too, which I'm grateful for. That Orange and Blue debut crap was awful, and I'm glad they got rid of it. All right? So we got that going. So you're right. Let's think of things in a positive way. After all, everything is about recruiting and selling tickets, all the things that goes on. So anyway, sorry, let's talk a little bit about the cluster around the program, the quarterback cluster. And the fact that Florida could still get one, maybe two other quarterbacks, could sign one out of college, and also they could get one in a transfer portal. There are going to be quarterbacks out there because not everybody can play. And there's some schools like Ole Miss, they got three. They got to do something. Somebody's going to be bailing out, don't you think?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what Florida's timeline is for adding to that room. I wouldn't be surprised if they go through spring practice just with the guys they have right now, the three quarterbacks in the room, in Graham Mertz, Jack Miller III, and Max Brown. Max Brown, who actually is participating with the Florida baseball team this season. So I don't imagine he's going to miss much of spring practice as a result of that. But right now, he maybe is doing a little bit different from a workout perspective than what some of the other guys on the team are doing. I would not be shocked, though, after spring camp, when the transfer portal opens back up briefly and you see players enter the transfer portal, whether they didn't have spring camp work out for them as well, or they often just finish academic requirements at their former institution, graduate, and then find that new home for a graduate transfer year. If you are Billy Napier, if you're any team that needs a quarterback, I think it behooves you right now to wait until after spring camp, see if that transfer portal list expands once the portal is back open. If you can, I think, maximize adding someone after spring, someone who's capable of playing. I mean, look what LSU did last year with Jaden Daniels. That happened in the first week of March, and they somehow were able to get him on campus for spring camp for Brian Kelly's first year. Just because it's the final, days of January here does not mean that Florida can't make a late addition. I'm just curious whether that's going to be in time for spring camp or it's going to be after spring camp. But having three quarterbacks in the room right now, two only who have played in a game, makes me think that they're going to add someone regardless of when it is.
Sounds like Merch has the inside track on it right now. And we're all thinking this is going to be a running team. Well, like to say, one thing he knows how to do in Wisconsin is hand the ball off. Although he's probably a better passer than given credit for. Your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think his decision-making is certainly something that is subjective. If you look at how he has been assessed, I think there's a lot of people who think that he really had an uphill battle to climb there in Wisconsin. Not a great offensive line, not great receivers. And just as you mentioned, a lot of people expected him to hand the ball off in abundance. I didn't think it was a super creative offense. I don't think we've really seen him at his best. He's an improving quarterback. If he can just cut down on the turnovers, the errant throws, I think that could be a guy who comes in and wins the starting job. But I'm going to actually push back on the notion that he is the starter right now. You know this really, really well. There's a saying that a guy shouldn't lose their job due to injury. And Jack Miller had a really, really impressive 8 months before he suffered that thumb avulsion fracture. He was the number 2 guy, but really, let's be honest, he didn't have a chance of winning that job, really no matter what he did, over Anthony Richardson last year. He suffers that injury, is out for 4 months, starts in the bowl game, returns to the team, second year under Billy Napier. He's got familiarity with the offense. I think he has to start spring camp as the starter. Let Mertz come in and try and win the job. I understand there's a little bit of precedent here with Florida bringing in a transfer and having them be the guy right away. Ricky Pearsall did that over the summer, gets the number 1 jersey, and he's the starter before fall camp after missing spring camp. So certainly it would make some sense for that to happen. But I do think that Jack Miller is going to get a shot, a lengthy shot, at being the starting quarterback for this team. I think he's going to have a chance to win the job, and it's going to make it, I think, it's one of these underrated storylines heading into spring camp for me, is Florida's going to have, I think, a pretty good quarterback battle on their hands, buddy.
Final one for Graham. He's got to get out here in another 60 seconds. Gators got some players with a chance to, participate in the Super Bowl. How about that? Carlos Dunlap, Tommy Townsend, Kadarius Toney, LaMichael Pirine. I forgot about Pirine being added. C.J. Gardner-Johnson for the Eagles. There'll definitely be some Gators in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, if you're a Saints fan, you got to be kicking yourself for letting Chauncey Gardner-Johnson go.
Really?
One of the best in the league, absolutely. And then give the Chiefs.
I think these interceptions were 6, right, or something like that.
I think so, yeah. And the Chiefs being made up of Gators. You just mentioned 4 right there. Tommy Townsend has turned into one of the best punters in the league. Pro Bowl guy right there. And Kadarius Toney, what a great addition by the Chiefs, making that trade with the Giants. I think he's been huge for them. And then obviously, you mentioned Carlos Dunlap. I mean, that's a guy who has been around for a long, long time now. 15 years? To see him still competing, making the Super Bowl, that's fantastic to see. It's a great storyline if you're a Gator. You got someone to root for on both teams in a couple weeks.
I'll let you go to say hello to France, and
Hey,
we'll
Brent.
see you.
How you doing, man?
Good evening to you.
Hey, Graham.
See you tomorrow.
Hey. Oh, yeah. Highlight of our week, Todd Golden in the press conference.
Twice a week, every week.
But you got to admit, he's really, really good.
Yeah.
He talks like 800 miles an hour. And so, it's kind of like Ron Zook used to say, 4 hours is like 8 hours of sleep if you sleep fast. Todd Golden, an 8-minute press conference is like 16 because he talks fast.
It's good quality content. I appreciate him maximizing every use of his time. So
speaking of which, I got to get Graham out of here because he said he had 10 minutes and I'm at 11, and so he makes me pay him extra when he's over long gone. So
you owe me some cookies.
Yeah, I owe you more cookies. Thanks, Graham. Appreciate
Y'all
it.
take care.
Thanks.
See you, friends.
Yeah, he's got a very tough schedule tonight, and that's probably said I can only be 10 minutes and we're over time. But how you doing there, Francis?
Doing good, and I agree with him about Jack Miller. We tend to forget about him, and people, I've had to tell so many people who have been lamenting that Jack Miller is coming back. I said, why? They said, well, he was terrible in the bowl game. I said, first off, he wasn't terrible, but secondly, you're talking about a guy that hadn't taken a snap in a long time and didn't see live action all season long, and he's going there with a skeleton, of an offense and so forth like that. So many guys sat out that game. I think he's got a chance to really prove himself in the spring, and wouldn't surprise me if he does well. Just as it won't surprise me if Graham Mertz shows that he might be a whole lot better than what people think he was. Bad coaching at, I've documented that. He had bad offensive coordinator, bad quarterback coaching at Wisconsin. And I got a question. Why would, if he had it to do over again, I don't think he would have certainly gone there. I think he would have chosen someplace else to go rather than Wisconsin. He had offers from Alabama and Georgia, LSU, and a whole bunch of other blue bloods.
Yeah, I'm going to do this, friends. I never got to a break. I'm going to come back. I have a lot to ask you about. We've got a press conference on Wednesday, get the basketball situation, the fiasco, I guess you call it, I did a fiasco against K-State. You wrote a really good column about it. And the big guy couldn't get loose, and they shut him down pretty much. And we'll talk a little about spring ball and the game being played on Thursday night. And they're going to try to find a quarterback. So stand by. Back with Franz Beard more on the Buddy Martin Show. Melvin on Monday. We're going to hear from our other sponsor tonight and tell you about Titan MRI.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life. And the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
All right, thanks very much, Jeff Cardoza. Back to Franz Beard, the start of the show tonight. We have lots to talk about. I'll let you choose. Tell me what happened to the SEC against the Big 12, or let's discuss spring ball and the April 13th Orange and Blue game, what might happen. Take your choice.
Well, first and foremost, let's talk about the SEC Big 12 Challenge. The Big 12 won its 5 home games, okay? LSU was one of the teams that was picked. Ole Miss was one of the teams that was picked. Both of them bottom feeders. Texas A&M should have been in there. Texas A&M could have beaten probably any team that the Big 12 threw out there. So, and yet almost all the games were competitive. Florida certainly was very competitive in the second half. First half, they were terrible at both ends of the court. But yet they still only gave up 37 points, despite not being good at both ends. And for the game, they ended up holding the Wildcats to lower than 40% from the field, 4 for 17 from the 3-point line. But the Gators couldn't hit shots. And that's a recurring theme with this team, particularly on the road, is they suddenly, away from the O-Dome, they suddenly lose everything they have going for them when it comes to shooting. I don't know what it is, whether it's a lack of confidence on the road, whether it's the crowd gets to them, but they lose whatever they got going for them. They come to the O-Dome, it's a totally different story. They shoot the ball well at the O-Dome, and which probably bodes well for the Tennessee game. Got to remember, Tennessee's been pushed a couple times before, and Florida. If you're going to beat Tennessee, you got to beat them at home. You're not going to beat them in Knoxville, and so if there's a chance, it's going to have to be here. But Florida can play good enough defense. They're just going to have to get they're going to have to get a well-called game to beat Tennessee here. I don't care who they play. They're going to have to playing at home. They're going to have to get a well-called game. They don't have the depth, and it's going to show up in these next 3 ball games. Tennessee, Kentucky, Alabama. All 3 of them are going to have a size advantage, and the Gators are going to have to stay out of foul trouble, and they're going to have to play great defense. They're going to have to hit some shots too.
Okay, you made a reference in your column about how it was when Florida got away from home. And the one thing I saw, I think, was they had an ability to box out and keep Colin Kesselton from getting his shots. They didn't give him space enough to be able to go, to move to the basket, and he didn't make the shots he'd been making. They were contested. He didn't have a very good game. Is that just a K-State's better defense? Was it Colin having a bad night?
It's a case of you don't hit shots. If you can't hit shots from the outside, you can double up. You can bring somebody from the backside and make it very, very difficult for him to beat you. Now, he had a good second half in that ball game. He finished the game with 13 points, blocked a lot of shots in the second half. 13 points, 8 rebounds, 4 blocked shots. Wasn't a terrible game, but it was a bad first half for him, not so much because of him, but because of the way the Gators were unable to hit any shots. And this is going to be the blueprint for the rest of the year. Okay? Keep doubling him up until somebody proves they can make some shots. If they're making shots, they can't double them.
What do you expect out of them against Tennessee?
Well, they got to stay out of foul trouble first and foremost. And Tennessee is going to go straight at Castleton. They got a 7'2" center, and they're going to go straight at him with the big guy and try to force him to foul. And put him on the bench, because if he's on the bench, it's all over. That's going to be the case. They think they can double up, and they're quick enough. Here's the thing about doubling up. When you have a team, some teams, Billy Donovan had that when he had the O-Force, in that he could, Corey Brewer and Humphrey and Lee and Torian Green.
Pick and roll.
Well, here's the thing about that they could do defensively. Those 3 guys on the perimeter could double down on somebody and still were quick enough and smart enough to get back to the perimeter to defend. And Tennessee can do that. And so this is going to be why it's going to be difficult to beat them here. It's going to be why the ball is going to have to move better than it did against K-State. They didn't move the ball well against Kansas State. Too many guys came down there, launched way too early. You got to make K-State played a lot of zone defense, and the Gators did not move the ball well.
Double casting a lot.
Yeah, they doubled him up because nobody was hitting shots. But the other problem was this. They didn't make the zone moves. Zone defenses have to move. And you beat the feet can't move as fast as the ball. So the ball's got to hit around the perimeter. You got to hit a high post pass. Gators didn't do any of that.
You got to make some threes against the zone. That's what you have to do. But either zone buster, somebody knock down the threes, not get out of that zone. But anyway,
Will Richard, I promise you, is a really good shooter, and I would expect him to have a good shooting game Wednesday night against Tennessee. He's a very good shooter at the O-Dome. I don't know why he doesn't hit his shots on the road, but he's going to need to hit the shots. If he's hitting shots, it opens things up for so many other people. Kawasi Reeves, another one, whose offensive game just went was circling Mars or someplace.
Yeah, really. With his little haircut. Yeah.
Well, he had the really good ball game against South Carolina.
Yeah, well, he did. A great dunk.
Yeah. Then he comes out there against Kansas State and just absolutely had nothing going for him. No continuity, anything. They've got to settle down. They've got to do some things. The ball's got to move better. They've got to hit some shots, most importantly. And they can hit them if the ball moves. You really enhance your chances of hitting some shots.
All right, we got a little good news lately. It seems like with some recruiting news, things are picking up. Florida's in the hunt on some really good players, some 4s and 5s even. They're talking about how much they like it here. Now, the addition of Hayes was a big one. They were number 6 when they got him, and now they moved up. According to 2024 consensus all team recruiting rankings, the SEC program moved to number 3 behind Alabama and Georgia, respectively. 4 prospects make up the Gators' 2024 recruiting haul. Hayes from Willis, Texas. 4-star quarterback Lagway from Texas Willis. Woodward Academy, 4-star linebacker Miles Graham, and North Palm Beach, Florida, Benjamin School, 4-star running back Chauncey Bowens, who said today he's taking a visit to Athens, but he's 100% Florida. What does it feel like to you is going on? They now have the number 24, 30, 61, and 278 overall prospects, the class 2024 class. And I think they're going to go on at 1 or 2 more here. So.
Well, 2024 is a year away, and a lot of things can happen in a year. They're off to a really good start. They're top 8. They're on a lot of lists right now. They're on an awful lot of lists right now. So there's every good chance they're going to wind up with an exceptional class for 2024. I don't think we're going to. I don't think we're going to see in 2000. I don't think we're going to see in 2023, which is the signing class that's going to be announced Wednesday night. I doubt we'll see probably 3 guys taken. I expect there'll be guys that are 3-star prospects, guys that maybe they were recruiting before when they were in Louisiana, who did not sign in the early signing period, something like that. But they're gonna wind up with some guys. But I think they're gonna go for depth then. I think Graham's got it right when he says that the Gators are going to hit it hard on the transfer portal after the spring. They've got. I look at their roster and I can see another 6 to 8 guys transferring out.
Going out. Okay.
I think they got guys that are going to go through the motions in the spring long enough to get their college degrees, and then they're going to be out of here. And the good thing about it is this, is if you're a grad transfer, you can go whenever you want to go, wherever you want to go. You really have an advantage there. And I think that's what they'll look for. I think they'll look for guys who are grad transfers who have like 2 years eligibility remaining. And there's a lot of these guys these days. Kids are trying to graduate in 3 years now, and they'll end up with 2 years of eligibility. They take a redshirt year, whatever like that. So, but I think they're going to get work very, very hard to bring in some more transfers. They need an experienced safety. I think they need to bring in a guy, for example, like Terrell Harrell, who is a Florida kid who started out at Louisville and averaged like 20 yards a catch at Louisville, went to Alabama and he got hurt and he never really recovered from his injury. I think he had a broken foot at Alabama. So he only played in 2 ball games. But he's a guy that's back in the portal again. He's a graduate. He's a guy they could pick up. And I think he'd be an excellent guy. They really need another fast outside guy. Pearsall's going to, no question about it, Pearsall is going to move outside this year. What they really would like to get is that water bug kind of guy, a Kadarius Toney kind of guy that you can put in the slot, who can run that drag pattern across the middle, who can run the bubble screens, can do a jet sweep and things like that. Terrell Harrell, when he's healthy, could be that guy. But I think that's what they're going to look for. I think they'd like to add an experienced safety in there, particularly a guy who's like a Chauncey Gardner, who is a hybrid kind of guy. He can play. He tackles well enough to play like a linebacker up at the line of scrimmage, and yet he's quick enough to get back in coverage back there. And they need a guy like that. Jadarius Perkins, I think, is a good ball player. I don't think he's exceptional. I think he's very good, though. Maybe he will respond better this year and turn out to be a fine ball player. But I think they've got to get that guy. I think Jadarius Perkins, I think Trevez Johnson, I think neither one of them really did a great job in that role this year. And you got to have that guy. If you're going to run the creeper defense, which is what they run, which is essentially a 3-3-5, buddy. And you got that guy they call the star, and he's a hybrid kind of guy. He's got to be the guy that, like I said, can tackle like a linebacker, cover
That's
like
the new
a
safety
cover
they just
well.
picked up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Transfer portal. Yeah. I get that. Let me just, in the remaining time, let me switch gears to the stuff Super Bowl players. We have a batch. Give me your thoughts about any of these guys. A lot of people didn't know that Michael Pirine was on the Chiefs team. They saw him running and thought he was the other Pirine, but they didn't know that he had been on the practice squad, and he signed with them on the practice squad off the Jets. Did not play in any game during 2022. But they brought him to the practice squad. Good move by them. And now Pirine, along with Carlos Dunlap, he's not that old, who's got some game left after all these years. Tommy Townsend, boy, he had big foot. Kadarius Toney, unfortunately, got hurt in the game yesterday. You mentioned C.J. Gardner-Johnson with the Eagles, and he is playing at a high level. So
Carlos Dunlap. Carlos Dunlap.
Yes.
Father Time.
We remember that incident for those who don't.
Okay.
But for Carlos, Florida might have been playing for might have won another national championship. Maybe not, but at least it changed everything the night he went. What was the fullback's name that had the birthday party he went to? And he was not a drinker, and he had something to drink. And
I don't remember
Tommy's
who,
somebody? Tommy's what was the guy's name?
I don't remember who the other guy was.
He went. It was a whole bunch of guys over there, and he went and he drank one of the few times, and he passed out at the stoplight. The cops called him. He got arrested and he was not able to play against Alabama, which against Alabama, you need a guy like Dunlap in that middle, and he wasn't there.
Yeah.
Now, it happened. It worked out well for Alabama. But anyway, what a player, what a career he's had there. And so Gator is well represented in the Super Bowl, friends.
Oh, yeah. I got to tell you what, though. The phantom botched third down where the Chiefs got a do-over. Oh my gosh, I don't blame the Cincinnati people for being livid about that. And I got to say one other thing too. I've heard a lot of people who are really coming down hard on the kid who pushed the quarterback, who pushed Mahomes out of bounds. Yeah, it was a bonehead thing to do, but it's kind of like this. As his coach told him, he said, there were other chances for guys to make plays. It should have never come down to this. It's kind of like Shoegate at Florida. I know everybody, it was a bonehead play. And everybody wants to say he blew the ball game. But guess what? There were a lot of other opportunities for Florida to win that football game. If John DeLance doesn't whiff on a block that ends up with Kyle Trask getting hit as he throws, and the ball gets picked off, LSU gets a field goal there at the end of the first half. That's just one perfect example of what happened. One play certainly will always stand out in a game like this, and a bonehead play will. But it's not the only play that could have been made that could have made the difference in the ball game. Yeah, say he made a bonehead play, but don't say he cost the ball game. If the timing may have been bad, etc., like that, but there were other plays that could have been made. It should have never come down to that play.
Yeah, as Dan Bond points out, the interception that Burrows had was unfortunate, and that was the killer. A lot of plays. It just happened to me that was the moment, and the one thing you don't do is touch a guy when he's going out of bounds. I read an article where he said he was trying to keep him from going forward, which under the rules, if you go to the sideline and you don't go forward, you don't stop the clock. So that was something that maybe he was thinking. But the kid's 22 years old. He'll play a lot of football. Like Wetzel saying, things that don't kill you make you stronger. That's a moment for him. He'll never forget, that's for sure. That was a tough one. All right, Francis, wrap it up. You got a minute and a half to tell us where we need to go and what do we need to watch for this week.
Well, let's watch what happens with the Florida basketball team. They've lost the game on the road. They've got a game on the road at Kentucky. This Tennessee game, I hate to say it's critical, but it is critical. Florida needs to play as well at home as they've played at any game this year Wednesday night. They need, even if they don't win the game, they have got to play well. You cannot go into Kentucky with 2 straight games in which you have played poorly. The emotional drainage that will take place if you play badly 2 games in a row during a critical stretch like this could carry over well beyond this 4-game stretch. So the Gators have got to come up. They have to show up Wednesday night. I think that Todd understands this. I think he's done a really good job of getting this team to focus on the things that are good and right all year long. They really haven't played 2 straight bad games all year. Even starting out the SEC portion of the season, 0-2, those first 2 ball games, they didn't play badly in those 2 ball games. They had the ball with a chance to win both of those games. So I'd like to see them play well. And if they play well, maybe they do have a chance to win it there at the end. And maybe this is that time when some O-Dome magic steps up, kind of like last year when Auburn came to town here and nobody gave the Gators a chance against Auburn. And look what happened. Florida won that ball game. So maybe this is going to be another night like that. I hope so. But win or lose, Florida's got to play well.
The great Franz Beard, you can read him in Gator Bait, by the way. If you're not reading it, you're missing out. If it's happening, he's going to be there. He was last week, covered gymnastics one night, basketball the next, doing a press conference tomorrow, basketball, going to press conference on Wednesday, and he's cooking burgers, I think, on Thursday somewhere, aren't you, friends?
Yeah, and unfortunately, the gymnastics team won't be here on Friday. They're going to be up in Arkansas. And I got to tell you what, folks, if you're listening here tonight and you don't have anything to do on a Friday night when the Gators are at home, see if you can get a ticket.
Yeah, that's the problem. You can't get a
right
ticket.
Now, they're outdrawing the basketball team, I believe, right now.
14,000 every time they tee it up.
Boy, no. Trinity Thomas is worth the price of admission.
She is. Welcome to our crowd tonight watching us live on YouTube. We do this every Monday through Thursday. Franz Beard's on with us on Mondays and Thursdays and sometimes other days. Don't forget, go to GatorBaitMedia.com, sign up, and find out what Francis is doing. And some old guy writes every now and then, Buddy writes a column every now and then. Francis, great job as usual.
Take care.
Take care, my friend. Franz Beard. All right, folks, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. I want to tell you about my friends at Red Star Medical Research, who mean a lot to me, who've done wonderful things for our company and our being friends company, and also have been supporters in our community in Ocala, and they're also looking out for years of my health. They do these terrific clinical trials to try to match up you with your needs in terms of prescriptions. They have a high-quality, patient-centered clinical research facility. They have cutting-edge clinical research trials in Ocala in areas like everything from Alzheimer's to dementia, psoriasis, osteoarthritis, migraine headaches, etc. And you can be a part of some of those if you just go to their website, renstar.net, and check it out. They invite you to come and see if you can qualify. Compensation will be made if you're accepted for your time and travel. Since their inception in 1998, they've participated in more than 700 clinical trials, continue to partner with prominent pharmaceutical and biomedical companies throughout the medical industry. Red Star Medical Research, seeking tomorrow's answers to the health questions of today. I'm Buddy Martin. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Back tomorrow night, same time, same station, on The Buddy Martin Show.